Snart skal vi oppleve den begivenhet som danner selve det strålende klimaks på alt som heter vintersport. Holmenkollrennet.
Men publikum med å gi litt oppdrift i bakken, det hører dere tydelig. Enorm jubel det her.
The people in Oslo have always been good at finding their way down fast. And now that we're working to bring the city's emissions down as well, all the way down to zero by 2030, we need more tools than just gravity. We need a climate budget. A climate budget is a governance tool. That means that the entire city of Oslo, a large and complex organization, works in a structured way to reach the city's climate targets. The very first climate budget was made in 2016. Its job was to set the framework for cutting the city's direct emissions. In other words, the greenhouse gases released within the city limits. So far, we've cut around 1/3 of the emissions that happen in Oslo by making it cheaper and easier to drive electric cars, vans and trucks. By requiring only electric machinery on municipal construction sites, and by pushing for even more heavy vehicles to go electric, emissions will be reduced even further in the years ahead. At the same time, we figured out what it will take to get very close to our goal, which is cutting 95% of the emissions that happen here in Oslo. Since the first climate budget in 2016, we've expanded it to also include emissions from consumption. This means that we include not just the emissions within the city borders, but also the emissions we contribute to when we buy goods produced elsewhere in the world. That is why we, among other things, focus on renovating and reusing existing buildings in city projects, instead of tearing them down and building new ones. We've also discovered that Oslo isn't exactly the most energy efficient city in the world. So saving the energy that we already have has become a key part of the climate budget. Every year, Oslo now provides grants to housing cooperatives and businesses that take steps to use energy more wisely, and to those who produce their own energy. The climate budget doesn't just show how Oslo can cut emissions. It also shows how we can strengthen nature, so it can absorb, store and withstand the impacts of climate change. That's why we make room for natural carbon storage on nature's own terms. For example, we work on sustainable logging practices, where only selected trees are harvested rather than clear-cutting entire areas. We also mix in more pine and deciduous trees, so that a healthy and diverse forest can continue to absorb and store carbon in the future. We're also seeing more frequent and more extreme rainfall events in Oslo. That is why the climate budget has also become a tool for making the city more resilient in a wetter and wilder climate. Oslo is reopening streams that were once put into pipes and restoring or protecting green areas that slow the flow of water through the city. If we manage the water safely and sensibly, there will be less pollution in the fjord and fewer flooded basements in our homes. Altogether, the climate budget helps Norway's capital reach the emission targets that we've set. We cut emissions and we prepare the city for the changes that the future holds. And maybe just as important, Oslo's climate budget leads the way and inspires other cities to create their own climate budgets and cut their own emissions. With this tool, a relatively small city from what once was the cold north can help drive major change across the world, for us and for those who come after.